even though it sometimes demands a huge effort, with knees creaking and thighs straining and knuckles being skinned on gabbro or fingertips being frozen by the cold. There is nowhere I would rather be than on a high mountain, apart, by myself. After about a year of being unable to get any higher than the top of the St. Mary's Church tower, and having spent most of that time trapped in the vicarage shielding, my awareness of how much I miss mountaineering has never been deeper. I remember in particular the first time I went to Scotland at this time of year to learn the basics of winter climbing, to spend a week dancing around in crampons and accidentally whacking myself in the forehead with the back of an ice axe. On that trip, we climbed Ben A in a drizzling fog, a damp mist that was so damp you could have cut it into cubes and stacked them up to make a dwelling place. And then, after a long slog and about 20 metres from the top of the ridge, just when I was beginning to realise that it was indeed possible to overheat among all the damp and the snow and the ice, we broke free from the clouds. On top of the ridge itself, they were below us, rolling away like a white duvet into the distance. And they reflected the dazzling sunlight into which we had broken, like freedom itself, as did the snow and the ice capping the stones of the spine of the hill. We went from being blinded by fog to being blinded by the light. And we immediately started searching for sunglasses in our backpacks to protect our eyes from the glare of the light. Jesus took Peter and James and John to a mountaintop, and there they saw his glory. He metamorphosed before them, and his clothes became a dazzling white. They saw the law and the prophets made real again in his presence, and they were terrified. Mark's Gospel talks of Moses and Elijah to make it shiningly clear that their promises and their power are fulfilled in Jesus' presence. In the face of all this dazzling brightness, Peter, not knowing what to say, wanted to stay on the mountaintop and create dwelling places there for Elijah and Moses and Christ. And Mark's Gospel says, echoing his imagination of Christ's baptism, that they were then surrounded by a cloud and the echo of the voice of the Father, telling them to see in Jesus' aloneness the fulfillment of all the scriptures and the full image of God the Father in the Son. I've been on mountaintops and been dazzled. And I've been on mountains and not wanting to leave. Sometimes, it must be admitted this happens very rarely in the UK, that's been because of glorious, bright sunshine and the kind of weather that makes it a delight to sun oneself on the summit. More often, it's been because the weather at the top of a hill has been so awful that a summit cairn has provided some small respite from the storm in which I've climbed up to it. I remember sheltering on top of Thordquaint Crag as the rain lashed around me, as the wind deafened me, as I was blinded, not by sunlight, but by the effect of my heavy weather on the lenses of my glasses. I remember burrowing into the side of the summit cairn there in order to escape the worst of the gale, and then shoving sodden sandwiches into my mouth. I remember not wanting to come down from the top of the mountain. Getting up there had been a struggle. But I knew that to go down the mountain again would be to face straight into the wind and to spend hours battling against it around the rest of the Kentmere Ridge before dropping out of its reach. Mountaintops, exposed as they are sometimes refuges from the storms of life, and also provide refuges from the forces that will challenge us in our journey on. Both before and after the story of the Transfiguration in Mark's Gospel, we are made aware of the storms that are gathering around Jesus. Before he took Peter and James and John away to the mountaintop, Jesus talked of their future, of taking up their own cross to follow him. And after they descended, he taught them that it was necessary for the Son of Man to suffer and to be killed. The way of the cross is punctuated and relieved, but only for a brief instant, by this mountaintop moment of glory. And then it marches on. It marches on down. No matter how much Peter might have wanted to stay on top of the world, down to Jerusalem. Our calling as Christians is to follow the way of the cross, the path trodden by Jesus both up and down the mountain. For Christians cannot reveal who we really are, cannot metamorphose or transfigure ourselves to appear like Christ, unless we are willing to take stumbling, faltering steps behind him and come down from all those places where what we used to do is bask in glory and rest alone, to places where we will be challenged and changed in turn, to places of crucifixion, to places in which, ironically, the brightness of Christ's presence shines most brightly of all.